Good afternoon. All right. Let's go and get started, if you will, if you haven't already. That cell phone reminder, if you will put that on silence, that would be great. I appreciate the cooperation in doing that. And, so let's all sing together, "To God Be the Glory." Hit number 36.
This day and for the occasion for which we're met here today, for this great celebration of these long years of hard work when things have been accomplished. Thank you for this church. Thank you for our pastor and all our leadership team. And may this day and these activities be found acceptable in your sight. May your blessings be with this church and may our future be bright as we march on together toward eternity. In the name of our Savior we ask it. Amen.
We want to welcome each one of you to this important service. Thank you for being here. And most of you were here for lunch, and you're sleepy. I told several to wait till I started preaching, and he said, "Oh, take a nap," and I think he's praying. But I believe that the program we have will keep you awake, and we're so glad that you stayed for the afternoon service or went home and came back.
I think it was back in 2004 that we began thinking about building a Family Life Center. That's been a long time ago. And our people have given over $1 million cash so we wouldn't have a big payment to make. But we had some problems along the way, but we try to forget those and look at all the blessings. But one of those problems was that we got a dishonest contractor who mishandled some of our money, and we ended up having to pay a lot of contractors twice because he didn't pay them and we felt that they should be paid. And we did the right thing, and God is blessed, and things are looking good now, and we're looking forward to the dedication of the Family Life Center today. Phase 1, we still have probably phase 2 and phase 3 to go. But phase 1 has been completed. And of course, when our other contractor did what he did, we had to fire him and get another one. And Dr. Tommy Farmer is on staff here, and he's a licensed contractor. And he offered his services, and the church elected him to come and serve as general contractor. He did a wonderful job, saved us a lot of money, and got the job completed. And we owe a lot to him. Give him a hand. I wanted him to recommend some of those that worked with him so closely during this, and I'm going to turn the service now to Dr. Tommy Farmer.
Thank you, Brother Henry, for those kind words. And thank all of you for all you have done over the days of the completion of the Family Life Center. It has been a great honor for me to serve as general contractor for the last 8 months of the building project, and in getting the occupancy certificate cleared by the city at the end of those 8 months. I never dreamed that at my age that I would be into this kind of endeavor again, because I had been dormant for about 6 or 7 years. But it has been a joy. Before we get to those that are part of our own church, I felt like that we needed to draw attention to 2 or 3 others that deserve to be mentioned who were not a part of our church, but contributed greatly to the completion of the project. First of all, I want to make mention of the general contractors who, after a period of time, had stopped working because they had not been paid. And then when it was agreed that we would start over, we would need new contracts. Contracts that would involve the payment that they needed to finish what they had already started. We were able to work with those contractors, and they agreed to complete their work even though they had not been paid the back money from the previous general contractor. So I think they deserve a great amount of praise for their willingness, even under difficult times, to go ahead and help us with the project. I mentioned one subcontractor who, after finishing his work, came by the church one morning and gave the church a check for $5,000 to go on our building fund. He was not a member of our church, but God used him to bless us in a tremendous way. I want to mention one of the inspectors, and unfortunately, because of age problems, I can't remember his name. But anyway, one of the inspectors was standing in the upper story of the second level in the Family Life Center, and we were discussing a major problem was involved in architectural design for the areas over the two restrooms. And we were faced with a tremendous challenge to meet the code that was not prepared for by the general contractor or the people who did it. So in his conversation to me, standing up there, he said, well, there is one option. You can have your building downgraded from 1A to 1B. So that struck a note inside of me, and immediately Phil and I discussed that and decided that we would take that route, and we did. It saved us probably in excess of $60,000. That's why I'm mentioning that inspector. He didn't have to tell us that. He didn't have to tell me that. But he did, and we pursued it and was able to get it finished. The architect that was contacted that we needed to finish the building, to finish the downgrade, was Bill Harrington. He came and took care of the legal work and never charged the church one dime. I felt like today that he needed to be honored for what he did in our behalf and not a member of the church. Now we move to another area where we are talking about people of our own church who have done so much. I want to mention some names, and as you well know, there's no way possible to mention everyone's name. Many people contributed behind the scenes, did things that we may never know. Only God knows, and they'll be rewarded. But there are a few that I felt like and that we needed to honor today. First of all, I want to thank Phil Berry. Phil, would you stand please for a moment? No one knows in this church, this side of heaven, the contribution that Phil has made in helping to get that Family Life Center completed. God put the two of us together, and I can't talk about him without feeling very deep emotion. Because God joins us together as a team. And for 8 solid months, we worked together side by side. Not one bit of tension, ever. We worked through some of the most difficult challenges, but we did it side by side. We prayed together, we walked together, and sometimes we just probably shed some tears together out of frustration. But we worked together. God put us together, Phil. And I honor you today as a person that I could have not asked for in any other way and got someone to do what you have done. I want you to remain standing for a moment. Also, I would like for Brother Wendell Hart to stand, please, if he's here. And also Jim Bangston. Brother Jim, would you stand, please? I was not here at the original work as it began, but it didn't take me long to realize that these two men would play a major role in leadership in getting our Family Life Center completed. They provided outstanding leadership through very difficult times, and we owe them a debt of gratitude that we cannot adequately pay or express today. Please remain standing. Brother Jimmy Poiniger, would you stand, please? See here, Jimmy? Okay. Bob Rainey. And Ken Creamer. Ronald Turner. I mention these in addition because they have provided so